technology, macroeconomics, business, political. So there's an overwhelming chatter which is coming all the time 24/7 to everyone in the workplace. All of these three come together, they are identified as a burnout for any professional or leaders. In 2019, WHO has categorized burnout as a workplace phenomena,
Okay.
which can lead to need of a healthcare service if, and WHO says, if the environment is not managed properly.
Hi, good evening, Chetan. Welcome to the podcast. And we are glad that you've joined this podcast. And today we'll explore a very, very interesting topic, which is burnout. So, Chetan, you work with leaders navigating high stakes transitions in today's fast evolving landscape. What does burnout look like, and how is it different from just being busy or under pressure?
And Ankur, glad to be here for this podcast, Ankur. So let's start with what's happening in today's environment, Ankur. We are talking about disruptions at an unprecedented rate, technology, macroeconomics, business, political. So there's an overwhelming chatter which is coming all the time 24/7 to everyone in the workplace. And so there's a ongoing change, ongoing disruption, which is causing a lot of anxiety to the leaders and professionals equally. Now, and this is not a short-term phenomena. This is a long-term phenomena, and this is a 24/7 chatter. So what happens? Professionals like us, we are not able to come out of this. It's happening all the time. And then over the time, it converts to what we know as the burnout. Now, burnout is a combination of multiple characteristics, and we discussed briefly in the previous podcast also. Let's go into more depth in today's discussion, Ankur. Time. So three characteristics of it. First one is the exhaustion, feeling overwhelmed, and that we know where it's coming from. Lot many change, lot many disruption happening, which is causing exhaustion, not only physically but emotionally also. However, only exhaustion is not a burnout. I could just be tired. I could be having a medical condition. My nutrition could not be right, which can also, all of this and more factor can cause to exhaustion for any of us. So that's just one thing. Alone exhaustion will not be a burnout. Second is when as a professional, I start becoming cynical about my workplace. I start seeing a lot of challenges. I start seeing a lot of unfairness maybe. And I start feeling that, okay, I'm not being rewarded for what I'm doing. I start feeling that, okay, maybe the processes are too complicated. They're not letting me do the job which I can. So this cynicism is the second. So first one is my exhaustion. Second is cynicism towards the workplace environment. And the third factor is the most chronic, where I start cynicism about myself. I start judging myself critically. I start feeling very hard about myself that I'm not adding the value. I'm not performing at my best. So when all of these three come together, they are identified as a burnout for any professional or leaders.
Very interesting
Yeah.
because as a health coach I work, so I can definitely relate to the first part, the exhaustion part, but I never thought there are other two aspects. And what I understand is that one is the cynicism part. One, if it is directed inward, and other is where it is directed outwards. So
Correct.
that's the other two factors. That gives a lot of clarity.
And so, as you rightly summarize, cynicism is two parts. One is toward the environment, second is towards myself. Now, as a leader for a organization, the leader could be a people leader, technology, business, or from HR. Now, their responsibility is not only manage their burnout, being aware about them, but also creating that environment for the people which is not causing this burnout. So it's a dual responsibility, and that's where it becomes more complicated for the leaders, Ankur.
Okay, so this is one. You are saying that for a leader, it is for self and then for the at the organization level where he has to, or he or she has to see that the source of burnout is not coming through the team. Is that what you mean when you talk about the team part?
Yeah, so
Or
if we talk about it, yeah, so if we talk about the culture, if we talk about the environment of any organization, while each employee contribute, the leaders have a very big responsibility of creating that because they have more control. They can have built it in the strategy of the organization. So it's their responsibility, accountability to build that. Definitely, everyone working in that environment also contributes to it. I'm not denying, but a big accountability lies with the leaders, Ankur.
okay, so can we say that that one is the burnout is at an individual level, and also it is at a collective level where individuals are contributing, and then it becomes more like part of a culture, which then further makes it worse.
Absolutely. So it's not or, it's and equation, Ankur.
Ah, okay, okay.
Both. Now, if we look at today's era, which is, and I think me and you, we mostly work with the knowledge workers,
True,
technology,
true.
right? And coming from that lens, and one more thing I would like to bring it here. Originally, burnout was mainly associated with the healthcare professionals or the professionals who are more in the social work.
Or
However,
fire workers, these emergency or
exactly.
like that.
However, in last few years, burnout has become more prevalent even in the technology industry also. Up to an extent that in 2019, WHO has categorized burnout as a workplace phenomena,
Okay.
which which can lead to need of a healthcare service. If and WHO says if the environment is not managed properly. If the environment is managed properly, the burnout incidences could be brought down. And that's where additional
Okay, that's where the
responsibility for the
individual
leader.
and the collective, the organizational, both are the, things which needs to be worked upon. At a
Exactly.
team level, we can say, and at an individual level.
Absolutely. And I
Okay.
think each of us, as a professional, we are also on the receiver end of burnout, and we are also on the someone who can make a difference also,
Yeah,
Ankur.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, not
As
only
a change maker or as an enabler, and also self-directed, means for working at an individual level. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
That's very important, I would say.
so I think while we can say there's a big responsibility for leaders, but I think we all are equal partner in contributing from our side to have a healthy environment, to have a good community. That lies on each of us.
Oh, sure. So you specialize in adaptive transformation. So what does actually I would like to understand what does adaptive transformation means? Transformation probably I understand, but what is specific about adaptive transformation?
Now, let me ask you one question. If you think about transformation, what comes to your mind mainly?
So it means you are asking at the individual level, I'm assuming. So if I talk about uh, uh, individual level or even at maybe the organization level, it means changing the status quo. So whatever you are right now, that is not suitable to the environment in which you are operating, and you need to change yourself. So that is my understanding of what a transformation means there's a trigger. Your current status is not matching the environment, and that's how you have to transform yourself. Whatever you are, you change that status quo.
Perfect. I think you've set the stage for my uh, message forward. So Ankur, and see, if we look at the transformation in last few decades, at least me being coming from the technology industry, when we talk about transformation, what comes to mind is the application, process, technology, right? So we think about that technology transformation. We think about the Gen AI transformation. We talk about the how the data is playing part in transformation. So any transformation, as you rightly summarize, so any transformation has a technical part of it, also has a what we can call the human part of it, Ankur, which you
Yes.
described very well. Right now, if I have to, let's say, if I have to transform, I'll just take a very simple example. If I have to transform from my current role to a new role, there could be some technical requirement I need to learn new skills,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Which is easier to do. The difficult part is to commit to that change, commit to the transformation, being ready for the uncertainty because I don't know what that role is, what the risk would be. So, in any transformation, a, if not bigger, the equal part is the adoptive, where as a professional, as a human, as an organization, we have to change our behavior, our language, and that is the adoptive transformation what we refer to, which is not easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, Ankur. Now, you know, transformation. It could be a role transformation. It could be a technology transformation. It could be a industry business model transformation. Right, the broad categories, if I can think about.
So you're saying that uh, the just transformation needs to, which everyone talks about or understand by transformation, is more external or more, whether it is technology, industry, trends, consumer, like that. And there is a lot of work which has been done on that, which is, you can see it, front, but we have not done enough work understanding that actually the humans which are involved as the leaders or workforce, they are the ones, they've not been equipped or even thought about that they also need to work on transformation, rather than just thinking that okay, uh, clients have changed or consumer trends have changed and we want to make this new product, do this research, but we forget this internal aspect, or which is a human aspect, that also needs transformation, and that's where you adaptive. So it's very very interesting that this human element has been missing element, if we may say so, or not enough work has been done.
So, we all have, we went to a management college, we did our MBAs, and we have been taught the management and the business principle, which have been there for last 30, 40 years, right? We all have been reading that again and again. And in my view, many of them came from manufacturing or construction area era. Ankur, if we really look back at it,
The industrial
right?
revolution era, we can say.
We talk about Henry Ford, we talk about Toyota. These are the case studies we all study in the management. I'm sure now we study about Tesla also, but a lot of it is still coming from that manufacturing or the construction era. Uh, so let's say, as a leader, I have been taught so far that there's one leadership style which has been working. Let's say it's a command and control. While it's no more prevalent nowadays, at least with the leaders I work with. However, let's take example as an extreme. If I have been taught that command and control is the way of leadership, and I'm only sticking to it, I'm not being aware that there could be multi-generational workforce in my place. Gen Zs, you cannot use command and control,
True, true.
right? So as a leader, I need to start adopting myself different styles, looking at the context and the environment.
Okay.
And And this becomes even more important in the transformation because we are in the middle of a change. Things are changing. So as a leader, I should be more adoptive of changing my style, changing some of the practices I might have in the organization, keeping in line with the change. Otherwise, it will like you've got two trains running on the parallel track. One is running at the speed super fast bullet train, and second is the goods train running behind. So that's how, and transformation will not be successful in that case. So that's where the adoptive transformation come, where a leader is adoptive, is aware about what's happening and adopting his or her style to keep the pace, to be relevant.
Okay, so that's interesting that that adaptive transformation what a leader needs to do. Does this aspect also build what can I say, like a building a muscle when it comes to when the disruption feels relentless, so this is adaptive transformation the way, or there are other elements to it of building a muscle to deal with this disruptions?
I think the way our brain works, the typical response first to a change is some kind of pulling myself back, being I mean, not maybe not fair for all the change and not for everyone, but there is definitely a sense of insecurity, a sense of unknown, which comes up when we look at a change, Ankur. Right now, and that's a very natural response of humans. That's how we have been programmed. That's how the brain has been programmed because of historical reasons, evolution. Now, yes, it takes practice to get out of this. I'll take one example. There's a part of brain which is called limbic system, and there's one part of brain which is called prefrontal cortex, which is I think at the front, right? I'm not a scientist, so I'll come from my remembrance. So limbic system has evolved to give us quick responses, fight or flight kind of responses.
So is it so sorry to interrupt, but does it mean that limbic system is a reactionary system which is supposed to quickly act on whatever the situation is? Got it, got it. And then how do leaders build that muscle when the disruption feels relentless? In today's age where AI is disrupting almost every profession, every industry. So, what would be your perspective on how to build that muscle to deal with it? Because this is something unavoidable in today's time.